Perseus, one of the most celebrated heroes of Greek mythology, was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Danae, the beautiful daughter of King Acrisius of Argos. A prophecy had warned Acrisius that his grandson would one day bring about his death. Desperate to avert this fate, Acrisius locked Danae in a bronze tower to keep her from bearing a child. However, the mighty Zeus, captivated by Danae's beauty, visited her in the form of golden rain. This divine union led to the birth of Perseus. When Acrisius discovered the child, he was horrified but could not bring himself to kill his own flesh and blood directly, fearing the wrath of the gods. Instead, he placed Danae and her infant son in a wooden chest and cast them into the sea, hoping the waves would claim their lives. But Zeus watched over his son, and the chest floated safely to the island of Seriphos, where a kind fisherman named Dictys found them and provided shelter. The devious king Polydectes. Years passed, and Perseus grew into a strong and noble young man. However, trouble brewed on Seriphos. Dictys' brother, King Polydectes, was a cruel and ambitious man who desired Danae for himself. Unable to win her favor because of Perseus' protective presence, Polydectes concocted a plan to rid himself of the young hero. He announced he was collecting gifts for the marriage of Hippodamia and demanded each man on the island provide a valuable offering. Perseus, having little to give, boasted that he would deliver the head of Medusa, the most fearsome of the Gorgons, as his gift. Polydectes, seizing the opportunity, held Perseus to his word. Medusa was a terrifying monster with snakes for hair, and her gaze could turn anyone who looked at her to stone. The king was certain that Perseus would meet his doom on this perilous quest. Divine aid and the magical gifts. Realizing the impossibility of his task, Perseus despaired. However, the gods had not abandoned him. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Hermes, the messenger god, came to his aid. Athena provided Perseus with a polished bronze shield, warning him never to look directly at Medusa. Instead, he was to use the reflective surface of the shield to view the monster safely. Hermes gifted him with an adamantine sword sharp enough to cut through Medusa's scales. Guided by Hermes, Perseus sought out the three old sisters who shared a single eye and tooth between them. These sisters knew the secret location of the Gorgons. Cleverly, Perseus stole their eye and refused to return it until they revealed the information he needed. Reluctantly, the Gree directed him to the nymphs who guarded further gifts essential to his mission: winged sandals to fly, a magic satchel to safely contain Medusa's head, and the cap of Hades, which rendered the wearer invisible. Confronting Medusa. Armed with these divine tools, Perseus journeyed to the edge of the world, where Medusa and her sisters lay in a land shrouded in perpetual twilight. Steeling himself, he donned the cap of Hades, making himself invisible, and approached the Gorgon sisters as they slept. Carefully using Athena's mirrored shield, he located Medusa. With one swift and precise stroke, Perseus decapitated her, averting his eyes as her deadly gaze was still potent even in death. From Medusa's neck sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden sword giant. Perseus quickly placed Medusa's head into the magic satchel, and before her furious sisters could find him, he escaped, flying away on his winged sandals. The rescue of Andromeda. On his journey back to Seriphos, Perseus encountered a new challenge. He flew over the coast of Ethiopia, where he saw a beautiful maiden chained to a rock, awaiting her doom. This was Andromeda, the daughter of King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia. Her mother had boasted that Andromeda was more beautiful than the Nereids, the sea nymphs. Offended, Poseidon, god of the sea, had sent a fearsome sea monster to ravage the kingdom. An oracle declared that only the sacrifice of Andromeda would appease the god's wrath. Moved by the maiden's plight and captivated by her beauty, Perseus vowed to save her. He struck a deal with her parents: he would slay the monster if Andromeda would become his wife. Desperate and grateful, they agreed. As the sea monster approached, Perseus took to the sky, wielding Medusa's head. With a single exposure to the Gorgon's petrifying gaze, the monster turned to stone, and Andromeda was saved. Triumph and return to Seriphos. Andromeda's parents hosted a grand celebration for her rescue, but their joy was marred when Andromeda's former suitor, Phineus, laid claim to her. Perseus, having no patience for the treachery, once again used Medusa's head to turn Phineus and his allies into stone, securing Andromeda's hand in marriage. The journey back to Seriphos continued, with Andromeda by his side. Upon arrival, Perseus discovered that Polydectes had been harassing Danae, refusing to believe that Perseus would ever return. Furious, Perseus stormed into the king's court and revealed Medusa's head. Polydectes and his followers were turned to stone, ending his tyranny once and for all. Dictys was made king of Seriphos, and peace returned to the island. Fulfilling the prophecy. With his mission complete, Perseus returned the magical items to their divine owners and gifted Medusa's head to Athena, who placed it on her shield. He then journeyed with Andromeda to Argos, where he sought to make amends with his grandfather, King Acrisius. However, fate could not be cheated. During an athletic competition, Perseus accidentally struck Acrisius with a discus, fulfilling the prophecy that had haunted the king all his life. Sorrowful but resolute, Perseus went on to found the city of Mycenae, where he and Andromeda lived out their days in prosperity. Their descendants would go on to shape the course of Greek legend, cementing Perseus' legacy as one of the greatest heroes of all time.